Hello, everyone. Okay, we are back for two more marketing reviews. I'm going to do two more after this, and that should complete this little series. Okay, so next up we have Gabby Potter in Victoria, BC. So again, I asked to start this off one or two types of ideal sessions. So here's what she said. Outdoor family session. Adventuring, playing in nature. I want the session to be more than a photo session. I want it to be an epic day date with the family, and I happen to be there taking pictures of the family, genuinely connecting with each other. The session involves some sort of activity like a picnic, roasting s'mores, picking out a Christmas tree. The second one was a laid back at home family session, doing an activity that is meaningful for the family, something as simple as playing with their dog or gardening. So again, this idea of the laid back in-home family session continues to be the number one or two creative want of the vast majority of family photographers that I ask this question to. And yet this type of session is underrepresented as a type of family photography. So either there's like a disconnect there where the general public still isn't quite on board with it. They haven't seen enough, or there is a potential to educate potential clients about what that type of session looks like, how it feels, and what the benefits of that are over doing like a traditional family session. So many of us who are in the lifestyle realm kind of struggle. So I'll take a step back. So the idea of a traditional family photography session still serves many photographers, especially those who are like IPS high end. When I see a lot, because I'm in some of these groups where these people are, doing IPS and they really want high end clientele, I feel like the look at the camera, very posed work is what produces very high price galleries that they sell wall art and that sort of thing. So the idea of a traditional photography session is still serving people. So it's not, sometimes us in the lifestyle camp can be like, no one does that anymore. That's not true. There's people that want a very traditional portrait, very polished, makeup, hair, every single bit of the body is posed. And I've been on shoots like that. I've actually been on shoots as a photographer on the commercial side that were requiring that, and there would be a person whose literal job it was to like fix sleeve cuffs. So that exists. So it's not to say that the traditional portrait is gone. There's still a big market for that, and there's still a lot of people doing quite well with that model. For whatever reason, it seems like the lifestyle model is harder to market. It's harder because there's an education point there. Like if you say, what I'm going to produce for you is a traditionally posed, very fancy, looking at the camera, everyone looking their absolute 10/10 best for your wall, there's still a massive market for that. When you're saying, we're going to do, you guys playing with your dog, connecting in the garden and having fun, it's just crazy to me because like for me, that type of image, of the production of that type of image is much more meaningful, emotional, and would seemingly mean a lot more to the family than the 10 out of 10 everyone's posed perfectly image. So what I think it comes down to is, what is the story of that image? What does it mean to the family? And that 10 out of 10 posed image is often directly tied to a feeling of status. And of course, when you can help someone achieve a feeling of status, then they will pay you more money. Whereas gardening, playing with your family, making cookies, and snuggling your dog, there's not really status attached to this. The psychology major in me is always trying to figure this out. I'm always wondering, like when I see these people who are in these groups making $20,000 sales on one session, and then the photos to me look extremely like just traditional portraits, nothing special going on. I'm always so curious about the psychology behind that. And I know a lot of it is that those sessions are often tied to a sales process. Like you sit the client down and you sell them the wall art, which is of course often not happening on this like snuggly lifestyle side. So is there an opportunity? This is what I always wonder too. Is there an opportunity, and maybe some photographers do successfully sell, lifestyle images and a wall art to people if someone was looking to, this is a total weird tangent. This is what happens with me. To really kind of bridge both of those views of photography. I don't know. I mean, in the same breath, I've said on here before that I had a client tell me that like if her house was burning down, the one thing she'd run back in to get would be our sessions that we did together. So that's as meaningful and as valuable as it gets for a person. And all of those are lifestyle sessions. So just to say that basically this commentary on the fact that this seems to be one of the number one wishes of the creative heart of the photographer, but there seems to be a disconnect in terms of whether or not the general public views that type of session as something worthwhile to invest in, which means that there is an education hole, and anytime there's an education hole, there's also an opportunity to be a market leader. So, all right, off the tangent there. So going into Gabby, we're going to start with the website. So her cover photo is on brand. She has an About Me snippet on her homepage, which I think is really important. I actually got into a discussion with another photographer and he was a man, so I don't know if this makes a difference, but he said he doesn't think that the homepage should be taken up, the valuable homepage real estate should not be taken up with anything about the photographer, which is just mind-blowing to me because in my mind, it absolutely should, especially if what you're selling is you coming into to a person's vulnerable personal space and taking pictures of them. Like, I feel like the more we can talk about our artist process, who we are, and a picture of ourselves, that just helps to build trust. She has session types on her homepage. There's nothing about either of these particular types of ideal sessions on the homepage, and most of the links go to the About Me and or the investment page. So we're kind of missing, like, there's a lack of images to me. I feel like there could definitely be more images and more process buy-in. So like, for example, this is something I wrote down. The contact form button says, "Let's do this." And then, which is very cute. It's like a common copy kind of like excitement getter of people who are trying to take the next step physically by clicking the mouse, and the words they're clicking on is "let's do this." But then the question is like, what are we doing? Right? So like, it doesn't look or feel like this brand is about the type of sessions that this photographer wants to do. And of course, many photographers are in a transition phase perpetually. The issue is if this is what you want to do, but you're feeling like the only way you are making income in your work is through traditional family sessions, for example, then there's a big push to showcase those because that's the content that you have. So we need to talk, if we're going to get people on board with these lovely sessions, first the outdoor family session where she's like a fly on the wall and it involves an activity. That is something that's going to take planning. Therefore, even more trust needs to be built on the photographer side. So like, what does that look like? Again, I'm going back to this idea of video. We need to show rather than tell what both of these sessions feel like so that I, as a potential client, can have buy-in. So in her case, she has gallery pages, which I would replace with info pages, and have a behind the scenes video on both. So for example, let's say you arrive on her site, which this photographer has no issue with consistency. She doesn't need to work on her photography skills, and her editing doesn't need to be changed. And the reason I say that is because when people run into an issue with them not getting the type of session that they want or not reaching an income goal, it's often that they turn to changing up presets, changing up editing style, chasing a trend. So in this case, that there's no issue there. Basically, we just need to help people down the road to actually get to this type of session. So we need more education here. So instead of a gallery where you're just looking at a bunch of images, which so often, and as a family photographer, you can look at your own site and see if this is true. The gallery page is a gallery page that leads nowhere. It has no call to action, often has no text, and it doesn't send anyone anywhere beyond the gallery page. So then what you're asking the potential client to do is click backward and restart. So instead, we always want to think of it as a forward moving road. So if I arrived on Gabby's site, I saw, let me showcase your adventure day. Click here for ideas. And it went to an info page that had ideas. It had a behind the scenes video. It had how she'll help you plan, how she'll help you style, what this looks like. Same thing for the in-home session. And then from there, you learn about her, you learn about her process. I'm going to continue to push this idea of process through 2025. And even so, the two things I love for 2025 for marketing are a process that you can stand on as a photographer, and a series, an educational series that you can lean people back to and say, this is how it works. There's an educational series. These are the types of locations that we could do this fun adventure family session. These are the types of activities we could do in your home. So you're really, really leaning hard into being the expert of this. So those are going to be the two themes that I'm going to be pushing for all of my students and anyone I talk to about marketing going into 2025, and leaning into that storytelling aspect. So on her Instagram, again, very consistent imagery, no need to update editing. There's no skill hole here. I think that this type of work would be very, very well served. And I talked about this on the last episode as well. The point of view, day in the life type of marketing, because at the end of the day, when I go to a studio and it's very stiff and I'm getting a traditional portrait, I don't necessarily need to build too much trust with the photographer themselves, because what I'm mostly buying into is the process. I know if I go to the studio and she has the makeup person there and she has the off-camera lights, that she's going to make me look better. And that's what I want. In this case, you may be like riding in people's cars. That sounds weird, but like you may be riding with people's cars to a location if the goal is to photograph them having a picnic, roasting s'mores. Like you could easily become a little fly on the wall of their family for something intimate that they're doing, which means that trust needs to be high. So that's why for these types of sessions, I will always recommend that type of marketing so they can really get to know you. And Gabby has really great and inviting images of herself. But for this type of work to work, you want someone who can say to their family, I'm inviting someone to come with us and document something important. And I already feel like I know her. And here's a video of her if you want to get to know her as well. That's the level of intimacy that we have to be okay with if we're asking clients to allow us into intimate moments of their lives. Okay, so marketing ideas would be an educational series on these ideal sessions, really tell the story. Maybe she could find some collaborations in her town. Maybe there's, like here on Bainbridge and in surrounding Kitsap County, we have a lot of like mama hiking groups. So maybe she could connect with one of those mama hiking groups, find a mom who is doing something similar, and they could collaborate on a session together and really lean into storytelling. I think that following my favorite line of content marketing, which is starting on Instagram, which it feels like Gabby's pretty comfortable there, starting on Instagram, and everything that's Instagrammable is also put on the blog and also put on Pinterest. That's going to be a very easy way to hit 3 visibility channels, especially if you're already consistently creating content, which Gabby is. So the issues that clients might have with this type of session is, what is it? How do we prepare? And what does it look like? So because again, it's harder to explain to someone what this might look, feel, or be like. Yes, that means there's more work on the photographer side, but if we lean into the romanticism, the excitement around this profession, which I think a lot of us are feeling lost in after the crappy year that many people had, how can we lean into that and get excited about telling these stories? Okay, so also she has a model call page on her site, which I've never seen before and I do kind of like. But what I would do is I would specifically tailor that model call page to these two types of sessions. Because on her website, she has newborn sessions, lifestyle newborn sessions, but I didn't exactly see a laid back family session, doing an activity that's meaningful to the family. So there's room there for her. I feel like she's kind of like last episode, I talk about that feeling I felt 5 or 6 years ago, where I was on the precipice of what I wanted to do with the adventure family stuff, where I had nothing in my portfolio. It wasn't even a known thing, really. There was a huge education education piece in the market for me to tell people what that looked like. It was an extremely overwhelming type of session. I'm asking people to drive for 3 hours at a time, all of these things. So I really leaned into it and became, from that, really leaning into it, easily became the person in my town to go to. And I knew that was true a couple years later when I went to like a book club or a meeting. I can't remember what it was. And someone said, "Oh, this is Fiona. She does the most beautiful mountain portraits." And I was like, "Oh, sweet." Like I have now, sorry, my stupid knee is all sore in my closet. So I'm moving my legs around. If you can hear that rustling, I apologize. I was like, okay, now people are describing me like this. So if we look at Gabby in 2 years, what can she do to, if she happened to arrive at a random get together of mothers or people in her town, we want them to say, "This is Gabby. She does the most amazing photo shoots where she'll follow families on fun activities they're doing out in nature," or "This is Gabby and she photographs like snuggly moments in your home. She came to my house and she photographed us all baking a cake," or whatever it is. Like that's how do we transition people from describing us from, "Oh, this is Fiona. She's a family photographer," to, "Oh my gosh, this is Fiona. She takes the most amazing pictures of families on mountains." How do we get from point A to point B? And a lot of that is through education, hand holding, and just going ahead and giving ourselves the permission to step into that authority position. Like if she's in Victoria, BC, she is the person like in her town to go to who can help you achieve this thing. This is exactly what it looks like. This is what it feels like. This is how you prepare. This is Gabby. You can easily get to know her because there's lots of content that shows who she is, how she acts, and that she's a really friendly person to invite into this intimate moment in your home. Okay, I'm going to again crinkle my pages and switch to the next one. Okay, the next one is Portraits by Dondra, and she's actually up by me. So she had a common problem that a lot of photographers have, which is that she likes to do a lot of stuff. She had a hard time narrowing down her 2 ideal sessions. And the reason I had people pick 2 is because obviously it's a lot harder for me to cover as many, and I'm trying to see any trust holes that we would stumble upon as a potential client when looking into each brand. So she ended up on families and couples, and she, like me, likes adventure family and then couples. She just likes the idea of being able to actually pose and direct people without little kid energy. I feel like sometimes in my own brand, when I'm just with couples, I'm such a silly little goose that I struggle when there's not kids there. And so you can lean in, some photographers can lean into both types of energies. And we were also chatting about how, we're at this 10, 15 years into a career, you start again, and I've talked about this before, of how it's going to look in 10 years. Will I still be a silly, silly goose at 10 years from now wanting to like bark like a dog and run around after a 3-year-old? I don't know. So anyway, we had an interesting just chat about that. Okay, so Dondra's work is very, very consistent. It's very, like, I can always see that she has a very distinct editing style. It's very beautiful. It's very consistent. So again, we don't need to deep dive into a spiral of, is it good enough? It's good enough. That's not the issue here. The issue is, are we able to create a trust building path for these types of people? That's the problem. So on her website, there's a cover photo and it's an adventure fam. So they're adventuring around. The copy on her website is very lovely. There's lots of images that just continue to build trust as you're scrolling down. This was one thing on her website, and I always point this stuff out because I hope that someone would tell me if this was happening. I don't know if it's the size of her image or just the size of her images on her homepage or what, but as I'm scrolling through, it will kick me down the page to like load the image fully, and I can't get back. I have to keep, it's like very, I can't remember what the word was that I used on the page because I can't see it in my sea of text. I'm talking about it at not a time I thought I was going to, but it basically will like kick me down the page. And if I want to click on something, when my thumb is hovering over the button, if it tries to load the image below, it'll kick me down the page and I have to scroll back up. It's just a little finicky to the point where it annoys me a little bit, and not like, oh, this is so annoying, but like as a potential client, if I'm unable to get to where I want to so I always think about these little details. I'm holding the phone right now in my hand, 4 fingers. Hello, Fiona, you have 5 fingers on your hand. 4 fingers are holding the phone. Thumb is doing the directing, and I'm struggling to click where I want to click because for whatever reason, it's kicking me down the page. I don't know if that's something if that can be fixed, but it's just something that I noticed. And maybe because this homepage is very, very image heavy, which I love because her images are literally stunning. She has reviews on here. She has really great copy. So like it says emotion, love, connecting, storytelling, the raw, the real, the love. And there's even like video little clips, like GIFs in here. Like it is a beautiful homepage. I'm spending a lot of time on this homepage because there's lots of things to look at, which conversely may be helping her on the SEO side because I'm hanging out here and there's a lot to do. Now, here's where I got a little sad. Okay. So the only reason I got sad is because first I got excited and then I got sad. So she has this, as you scroll down right after a review, it says choose your adventure, which is perfect. That's what I'm always trying to get people to do on their homepage. Let people choose the adventure they want to go on and ignore everything else. And the first button there is this cute little sibling duo at sunset at the beach, and it says family. When I click on that family, it goes to a 404. Which is a dead link. And that is true for every single choose your own adventure opportunity. And the way this is on mobile is I can't click back. So I have to click completely out of her site and go back into the menu or click all the way out. So if we go to her menu, from that 404 link, which hopefully after listening to this, she'll fix those 404s. I don't know where they're supposed to go or what it's supposed to look like. But of course, if anyone listens to the podcast for any amount of time, you'll know that where I want them to go is family info pages. They're not going there right now. They're going to a 404. They're supposed to go, let's see, I found it. Actually, I found it through the menu. So where it's supposed to go is a page that says family is everything. And then again, very, very image heavy. Scrolling down, you have text like this. I'm after those raw moments and authentic connection. So then studio sessions available. She talks about, again, very, very image heavy, lots of images to look at all the way down to the bottom. I'm just scrolling as a person would. There's reviews on here. There's information about gift cards. Okay, so then at the bottom, there's information about gift cards. And throughout here, there's ways to get in touch with her. But it might actually be a little bit over busy, because it's hard for me to see some of the text because the images are in the background, and it links to a contact form. So this could also be a situation where we could send people to something more specific than a contact form. But basically, her info pages are here. They're just not properly linked from her homepage. And you would not believe the amount of time that I run into 404s for major links. I'm talking about homepage buttons that say like connect with me, talk to me, learn more, and they go to 404s. Just go through your website with a fine-tooth comb and make sure you don't have any 404s. And it's extremely hard. I'm pretty sure I have 404s on my website because I have a lot of stuff on there. So again, I might simplify those info pages and add more about process. So So she obviously has a very cool process because she's able to consistently produce these types of sessions. So what is it? How can we plug into it? What do we need to know about her? Her About Me page itself is extremely cool. Like, she's 10,000 times cooler than I'll ever be. Literally, her image here is like there's a motorcycle and then she's standing in front of the Grand Canyon. Like, this is also a person who I would suggest point of view and behind the scenes type of content because she is like literally really cool. Not to sound like a weirdo, but like if there's anyone to follow, it's someone who is as cool as this. And so if we can get to know more about her, then that's amazing. And there's no reason, like, she has Why My Heart Beats. We learn about her. Again, the thing that is missing is the process. So like we know about her background, but like what is she, how do we connect with her to get the adventure family session? How does she handle us as a couple? Like, how does she make us not feel awkward? How do we plan it? That sort of process information is missing a little bit. So she has all the copy here and she has lots of information about her and she has lots of like anything we might want to know, then we can know it about her, except what's missing is plugging ourselves into that. Okay, so on her, the other thing, let's see, what was the other thing that I said? Okay, I got it. I checked all the boxes. So on Instagram, she does a really good job of her link page. So she has a bio site, which is just like a link page here. The first thing that you see is a newsletter page. So again, as you guys know, the newsletter pop-ups and the newsletter page need to only take the front and center stage, which they often do if they're actually converting. So if no one's signing up for your newsletter in the way that it's listed right now, just take it off of there. There's absolutely no reason to have it up. Being a pop-up is my least favorite thing, interrupting the homepage scroll. Unless you're actually getting people signing up for your newsletter, take that off of there and find a better way to encourage people into your newsletter. So on her, hold on, let me scroll back up to the top here. I think something about this is tricky because if I click into the bio site, I can't go backwards on mobile. So I'm having trouble actually going to the link page, but I kind of remember what it was. So she had everything separated out. So she also does like women empowerment sessions, couples, families, all of those were separated out. And I'm pretty sure they went to her info pages. So the only place that those info pages are not linked is right on that homepage, which is an easy fix. But the idea that she has them separated out and this idea of choose your own adventure, that is so perfect because that is what we want clients to be able to do. Okay, so again, marketing ideas. I feel like she's so cool and her life seems really fun that she would be a good person to like want to follow along and learn about as a person. Just because obviously her life seems, she rides a motorcycle. Like, we need to know more, you know what I mean? Okay. And then the issue here that clients are going to have with this brand is, again, every single person, especially if they're spending like a chunk of change on this, which is what we want, they want a specialist. And so when you have a lot of different things that you specialize in, it's hard to be a specialist of each thing. You can create that kind of the way that she has by separating all of these sessions out into info pages. That's how you overcome the confusion. The way you handle it on your homepage is exactly how she's done it. Choose your own adventure, and then you choose from these selections of where you want to go so you can continue learning about the thing that you want to learn about without being sidetracked. Like the adventure family doesn't want to know anything about the women's empowerment sessions. The couples, they don't want to know anything about the families. How do you do that? And I feel like she's right on the cusp of making it very, very clear. So she's also in two places. So she does Seattle and Sedona, which both of those places are beautiful and amazing. But again, anytime you have an option, it presents a marketing conundrum. So it's, who are you talking to? How are you talking to them? Like, how are you talking about Seattle sessions without alienating the Sedona? I don't know the breakdown of how many places she has in each, but then she says in her bio, it says families, couples, maternity, empowering women, Sedona, January through June 2025. So it sounds like January through June, she's in Sedona, and then maybe she returns to Seattle. So that might be a place where, since she does have like a cool life, anyone who's living two places at once, that alone is like enough to want to follow along on the journey. She could maybe create just a storytelling series about what it's like in both places, what she specializes in both places, the locations in both places. This divergence of interest creates a marketing opportunity. Okay, so her 3 words are emotion, connection, and storytelling. And I think she could create an educational series just on those 3 words. What does emotion mean to her brand? What does connection mean? What does storytelling mean? Creating a educational series that you can have in the blog post, that you can have as a pinned image on your Instagram, those things are so helpful. Speaking of pinned images, she has these words like brave at the top that are kind of pinned. There's brave. The next pinned image says freedom, and the next pinned image says Arizona. So I really like that because it's like centering the potential client in copy-wise to one specific idea that she's going to be talking about. I think this page could do well with a little bit of text on these. So it could be like Sedona, January through June 2025 would be the cover image. And then it could be a swipe through carousel post that's pinned at the top about what she's booking in Arizona, what the locations are like, more images from those, that type of thing. Next thing could be Seattle. Next thing could be about her, so that we're really, really learning her brand just from a quick peek. Okay, so definitely, I didn't have time to look to see how she's doing on like Pinterest, but that anytime you have a location specific type of that you're traveling to, or you're doing sessions at a place that is somewhere like Sedona, it's always helpful to use Pinterest because often people will plan their vacations there. And I know that's true because, like I said, in I think 2 episodes ago, I had so many families this summer come for mountain sessions who were out of state, and like quite a few of those people found me on Pinterest because they're planning a trip and my images pop up for that. So that could be an opportunity if you have people who are also maybe snowbirding from one place to the next. Could you connect with those people? Could you draw them into your brand about what you're doing as well? So there's definitely room for simplifying, providing clarity on exactly how to do each type of session with her. And all the pieces are there. She has the info pages. We can simplify them down a little bit, add more of a process, add more of an artist statement, what is meaningful, why you can trust me, behind the scenes, video, storytelling, all of that stuff. There's still massive opportunity to grow. And I think that this is a person who would also be well served in, focusing, like having families, couples, maturity, and empowering women. I feel like the empowering women could almost be its own little mini website, just because the other ones kind of can flow together a lot better. Whereas the empowering women she herself feels like a very empowered woman. So that could be led personally by her personal brand. And then the other ones could be separate if there was a separation needed, just for more cohesion and lack of confusion. Okay, so as I said last week, these little marketing reviews are brought to you by my sponsor, who is myself. And the sponsor, who is also myself, is offering the marketing mentoring one-on-one for 8 weeks. So if you're interested in that, I will put it in the show notes. If you have questions about that, just shoot me a DM. Like if you want to say, here's where I am, here's where I want to go, could this be of use to me, then let me know. It's 8 weeks. We're talking on 4 Zoom calls for an hour about whatever you need, and then I'm always available throughout the whole 8 weeks on Voxer. So like if you have an opportunity arise or you're wondering about something, I'm basically just there in your pocket as someone to ask advice to. And I know this business can be really lonely, and it's often really hard to do it by yourself. So the goal is you'll have me there to chat to. And I really want to make 2025 just such a good year because of this idea that I'm clinging to, which is that no one is coming to save any of us except ourselves. And so the more we can build our businesses to what they are, the more we have the power to change our environments. So that is the energy that I'm deciding to lean into. And if you would like me being your little marketing support system person for 8 weeks, then join the one-on-one mentorship. I think there's only 2 spots left for the January start. Okay, have a good day.